welcome Robert Yates to Spoken Synergy, our little podcast that we do on Wangerriburra soil, Tamborine Mountain, which you visited. And we are going to have the juiciest conversation today. And I'd really like to talk about where you're at the moment, which is full-time psychic reader. So welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here, my dear friend. And thank you for coming on.
It's my pleasure to be here. Great, not only to support, your channel and your podcast, but it's such a beautiful topic that I think we're going to discuss today, and really important for a lot of people, me included, but for so many others, not just us. So hopefully during the course of the conversation, we can reveal some nuggets for some people to help them along their journey.
Excellent. Okay, I love this. So, where I'd like to start is I want to hear more about your personal journey of getting to the point where you are today, which is full-time psychic reader and in service to people in the community using your beautiful gifts. But let's hear a little bit about the road that brought you here in whatever detail you choose.
Well, I mean, it's been a long one. Excuse me. A long one. And we're still really, I mean, even after the history that I've gone through, and I won't go into all of it, of course, because I don't think we have enough time. And it might not be, I have a tendency to go off onto tangents and things come up. So I'll endeavor to be as concise as possible. But yeah, the journey and the road, it's been a long one since birth, in terms of where I am now with what I'm offering to the world, it's ever changing and ever growing. So the main sort of point where I reached was I needed to start to follow my soul's inclination, its expression. And the trouble I had growing up was that not only wasn't I spiritually advanced enough to go on to that particular journey, still rumbling through the humanity of it all, but it was more the whole, I wasn't even aware that this, of the soul's presence and its expression being so important. So you have to go through a sort of a foundation of a spiritual journey, and then to get yourself to a position where you're at now. So for me, it wasn't like I just landed into, psychic reading, although I actually did, funnily enough. And I'll get to that hopefully at some point. And I think with a good history, it's hard to pinpoint the beginning.
Sure.
Like with any history of our life and our journey, it's hard to pinpoint where it all began. So I don't ever recall having this yearning to be a reader. It wasn't like I was more like I want to be a dancer and went and did that. Or I want to be a performer, and I want to I want to be a professional athlete, to be honest with you, psychic reader, if they had said when I was younger, you're going to become a psychic reader and you're going to be helping people, I would have been, maybe not. I don't really know what a psychic is. What are we, psychos or something? So getting to where I am now has been a process of sort of eliminating a lot of the things that I thought I wanted to do, or I thought I was meant to do. It's a process of elimination sometimes.
Yeah.
And living in the conventional world and being sort of, okay, well, I need a job, I need like money, I need all these sorts of things. And for a lot of us, when we are stepping into our calling, it's important, if I can just sort of jump to this, it's important not to worry about the money aspect of it. And an old statement was, get on your calling. And then once you're on the calling, then the opportunities and ways of financing it will come through. So, and that was said to me in one of those, you know me well, Heather, but, I go to the gym and I'm listening to these, speakers, motivational speakers, and some of it's pretty out there. But that was one of the lines, and it just really resonated with me, because I'd always been worried about how am I going to make money,
Sure.
you know, and that mentality, or that not making a lot of money really, and doing conventional jobs, and, working 9 to 5. And it's just like, wow, this isn't really,
Mm.
but sort of a long road to sort of get there. And I hope I've kind of touched on the main thing that kind of happened to me, which I think has happened to a lot of people, is we have to go through a bit of a dark night of the soul. And I think a lot of people listening would probably understand or be going through that right now,
Hmm.
in order to clear away some of the misconceptions or the identities that we've established that are unreliable for us, in order to then begin our sort of journey into our calling. Um, and I will premise that I feel that whilst psychic reading and tarot, and that is what I'm doing it now, is it the penultimate calling for me personally? Potentially not, but it's definitely in the right direction of offering, being of service in the best way I can to some people.
Yeah, wonderful. There's quite a few really juicy parts in that story too. Dark Night of the Soul seems to be something we can all relate to before we step up into service. I think pain's a pretty good motivator, isn't it? It's like, this isn't working for me. Something's not working for me. I need to almost hibernate, really get into it, and then understand what I'm here to do, but what's also quote unquote good for me as well as good for the world. Because that piece around money is so strong, isn't it? We're just so heavily conditioned for that, and we worry about it all the time. And then when we're not in a predetermined path of money making capacity, there's parts of us that do get worried. So I really like some of those aspects of what you were talking about. And you're right, you are pretty big on self care at the moment. So, how does the psychic reading or being of surface tie into your self care regime? Are they intimately linked? Does one lead to the other? How does that play out for you?
They are intimately linked, most definitely, because and just to touch on, just going back to the Dark Night of the Soul, and sort of being, you can't see the forest for the trees during that period. And
True.
a lot of people in your world leave,
Yeah,
or you actively leave a lot of people. And it was very important part of the process that you undertake that. And it's not, especially in the social and in the spiritual community scenes, you know, um, taking a step back from everybody, taking a step back
yeah,
from everybody. Now, I don't care if you're their family or their, your children. I mean, it can get pretty intense, and I'm not promoting not being responsible, and it's a different sort of
sure.
energy.
Mm,
You can't hear your soul's calling if you're surrounded by people who, through no fault of their own or through no bad intention, they're giving you information, they're reflecting something for you that
sure.
isn't. So it's important process to eliminate yourself from certain circumstances, and the Dark Knight will definitely do that for you if you're not willing to do it. But if you've signed that agreement, this life I'm going to go through and purify as much as I can, then Spirit's going to go, all right, great, you're on board.
Yeah.
But in terms of, yeah, so I just wanted to make that, it's
Mm,
an important point to the journey, because if you're surrounded by so many people telling you what it is that you need to do, and some of their ideas are great, you
sure.
know, and it does tie in with, how does it go with my self healing practice at the moment? The people that I talk to and come and see me, they're me.
Yeah.
Like, and as much as we use it as a spiritual mantra, it's like, oh, we're all one, and and all this sort of, like, oh, I'm so woke and we're one. It's like, yeah, we are. We
Mm,
definitely are.
mm,
But it's to integrate that into a belief structure and have it seen in the people, because some of the people, how they come to me, and they're going through the same things
Mm-hmm.
or different circumstances, of course, are all on this human plane, having this human expression. So it's like we all go through the sufferings of it. We all go through the heartbreak. We all go through the opening to a deeper level of ourselves. And so the people I have that come to me, that get called to come and talk to me, they are my reflection. And
Yeah.
so they teach me as much as I am giving them a reading, and helping them to clarify or whatever. They so much from it in return
Yeah.
that it's
Yeah.
just, you know, I can't stress how important it is. And I've had that view, and I do have that view that we are sharing this space. It's not like I, Robbie, am alone doing this thing. It's like, no, actually, everyone's doing it, and
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
beauty.
Yeah, 100%. It's reciprocal, isn't it? So, as healers, we talk about, you don't need to know everything to be able to hold people's hand through the darkness. It's really that those people show up in their reflection of you, and we're always healing our stuff, but it's reciprocal. The healer receives as much as the client receives. And in that way, we're always engaged with our own process as well. We witness another and they witness us, and it's this beautiful paradigm. It's mutual benefit, I find. And that's when you're in touch with something that's good for our soul as well. It's like an artist that needs to paint, not for the sake of creating a masterpiece, but because it's important for their health and well-being to simply stay in that creative state. But I love that you brought that up because when we all get imposter syndrome around, like, well, what are we going to tell these people and how are we going to understand them? They sit in front of you and tell you your life from a different viewpoint, and you go, I know exactly where you are, like purely empathetically. And I really want to guide and help you to find your way through that dark night of the soul, or your way through to that healing. And it's an honor, really, isn't it? I think that's so beautiful that you've brought that up. Shall we just stay on the dark night of the soul for one little more moment longer?
Oh, we've all been orbiting around the dark night of the soul for a while now. I am getting some reflections for some people, and yes, I'd love to stay on the dark night of the soul. It's not usually the best, not usually the first response. Hang around the dark night of the soul. Yeah, actually, let's do another lap. But some of us, and without sort of being pretentious and prideful about it, I've received a message that it was important part of my work here on planet Earth to uh, to to not only go through this process, and I'm still continuing to go through mine, but to be of assistance to others. And some of the closest clients that I've had in terms of having that moment have
Mm,
come through giving a lecture on sort of what's happening with the Dark Night of Soul, trying to increase knowledge about it.
yeah,
Um, because in the Muggle world, it's kind of a midlife crisis. But in the
true.
spiritual world, it's an opportunity.
Mm,
And to try and get minds to start to think about it it's still going to be, to whatever degree for you, really, I mean, to the level of what you need to clear
yeah.
and how far you would like. I mean, much of a soul's expression, how committed are you to the journey of expressing your soul or living from a soul-based experience rather than a human? And spirit will go, well, okay, well, you signed up,
Mm,
and it's totally up to you how much you would like to go on this journey. It's up to you. And we'll go as much as we think you can handle.
yeah.
And some of us, we signed up for the lot. I didn't read the
Full
disclaimer.
package.
Yeah, I should have read the little fine print. Yes, and I did. I know I
Mm,
did. You know, and to the degree with which I can process, and you can pull out at any time. You can say, look, that's enough. I'm done. You know, but and not to sort of suggest that it's this ever unfolding bombardment of bad stuff that happens to you, but because it's not like you're not without resources. And I
Sure.
think that's one of the biggest things that I'm here to help people, not only to get a different understanding it from a conscious level that, oh, this is happening for a reason. There's an
Mm.
opportunity here. And if you're in the depths of it, to be like, oh, hang in there.
Yeah.
Because some dark thoughts appear,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they have appeared for me. I've wanted it ended a couple of times,
Mm-hmm.
just, fairly recently. And
Mm.
you're probably thinking, well, I'm having this conversation with you now. And it's like, yeah, but, it wasn't that long ago. And I mean months ago,
Mm.
where it was too much.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I had people, I was, like I was saying before, having them reflected. I had people come to me and that was it. They couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, I can help you not get through it, but I can say, oh, yeah, I know how you feel. I know what you're going through.
Yeah. And I think that can be a beacon of hope, right? It's like you're not saying I can fix it. You're not saying that you shouldn't feel it. You're not saying that it's easy. You're saying, I know exactly where you are and it doesn't last forever. And if I can let you know that you're in something and there's a divine purpose for it, and it's not going to last forever. And if you sit in front of them and say, I'm living proof that you will get through and it will get easier, that can save lives. Just that someone really witnessing and seeing and understanding where you are. Because you take that profound, deep experience, or maybe that sense of a spiritual awakening to the GP, you're not going to get anything that helps. Medication can give you a reprieve, a break, but that deep sense of um, pain and dissatisfaction, you just want someone to witness it and see it and feel it with you and
100%.
say it won't last forever, right? And you will come through it, and there is beauty in the pain, right? And it will make a better person of you. But this is the stuff that we often need to, as you would say, like purge or purify in order to get to a greater level of understanding, because we're in a world where we bottle so much and we put shame around it. We say, I shouldn't feel that. I shouldn't go through that. I can't handle that. And Spirit's really saying, you can, and we'll guide you there. It's not meant to be easy.
Well, and going back to the gym motivation, um, a lot of the people that they're talking about, and this is why I like the energy of it, when it's connected to a spiritual sort of thing, it can get, I won't go into that, but it's very much like you being a warrior, battling through,
Mm,
alone. And there's just something in that for me that I just love.
mm,
It's the most painful experience, but it's like, if I can conquer that,
yeah,
if I can conquer that, because what the Dark Knight, if for those people out there that have no idea what it is,
sure.
it's important to give it some context.
Yep.
And what it is, and what I call it, is an opportunity. See, we exist in a world that's very limited, with a limited sense of ourself, with a limited sense of what we can do, and not only with a limited sense of actually who we are. It's
Correct.
very limited to, I am human and I
Mm-hmm.
am here on planet Earth, and all of that is a reality on a conventional level. Yet, that's not the ultimate truth of it all. And so when we ask for these awakenings, and these are ones like the Saturn return that come around and are just naturally, you're going to go through it, you know,
Yeah.
in the cycle of life, you'll go through these particular ones.
Mm,
And they are growth periods. They are opportunities to sort of really, really dig down and have a look, and to re-identify with yourself, not from a position of my limited self, but from more of a divine self.
mm,
And in the process of that is this, we go from a human identification. We're like, okay, I'm human and I've got all these problems and oh my God, I'm breaking up with people and oh, they're treating me wrong and oh my God, envy, jealousy, all this crap, right? And then we're like, we think, oh, soul existence. Oh, that's the ticket.
Mm,
But in and of itself, it is just not, you're not there yet.
mm,
Once you get open up to a soul's experience, meaning you're starting to understand yourself or your soul has incarnated here. And this person is one aspect of the soul. The soul's been going through it, cyclicking through many, many times. And we start to understand that when we get to a soul-based experience, at the lower based heart level, we still have heartbreak. We still
sure.
have pain. We still have guilt. We still have shame, but it's on a soul level now.
Yeah.
So this is the thing about the dark night of the soul, or wakening up to your own inner light. The people, whilst your human life seems to crash before you, and then they go into the soul's experience thinking it's going to be better. But what happens is then you go, well, you've not only had this dealing with what's happening in this human life right now,
Mm,
you've been doing this on a soul level. You've had heartbreaks for thousands of years.
yes.
You've murdered countless people. And you start, you see what I'm saying? And it's just not like,
Yeah.
oh, joy to the world, And that's what, so a lot of people stop. They're like, too
Mm,
much. I don't want to know about my soul's expression. I'm very happy just being here on planet Earth and that's it, you know?
yeah.
And for some people in this lifetime, I do recommend that's okay. It's okay if that's enough, you
Yeah.
know? And it's really not, you're so much better, because we've gone on this journey. But some of us, and I think people listening out there would be, I like to see it as this beautiful opportunity and chance to
Yeah.
sort of have a look and to gain an understanding of who you are at a deeper level, so that ultimately we can sort of identify with our God self, or who we are beyond the soul almost, which is
Yeah.
there for this podcast. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I think you can understand your resistance to the path, right? Because it does all open up. It's not, I think there is this misconception that it could be simply more power, which it's not. It's also a multi-dimensional expression of where we are, which means pain beyond your own pain, heartbreak beyond your own heart, suffering, the depths of our own sensation, but also we are connected to everything else. It's pure empathy for the world's suffering and for the world's love, and we have been through many incarnations. So once we open those doors, most people think, whoa, this is not what I thought it was going to be. But that's the whole point, because us always being in a linear expression of what we think life should be is a ego mentality, which a lot of us have been stuck in. So a lot of people don't get the calling and they're happy in that paradigm, and I'm happy for them. But if you get the calling, there's this resistance towards it. And that's why, because once we start opening those doors, we think, wow, okay, this is a lot. And you have to recalibrate, you have to adjust, you have to stay grounded and in purpose and remember who you are, and discover who you're trying to be, and all these other questions come up. I think we have this, "Oh, I'm going to go after my soul's calling to get the answers," but we know, you and I, very well that you go onto this path with more questions and you never get any answers, black and white. You never say to spirit, "Hey, what's the answer to this?" And they go, "Here it is." Never. It's like, that's the wrong question.
Yeah, because you're not going anywhere. This is the funny part about it, because again, you brought up linear, and I mean, we can't help. It's not like we start to live in our soul and we just abolish our humanness.
No.
This is people deal. A lot of people that I talk to, past, present, and future, deal in extremes, right?
Mm,
Because we have this, and that's just part of the ego trip as well, is this extreme mindset. Like,
yeah.
it's all, and then it's like, no,
It's black and white. No.
it's there's a whole lot of world of gray out there, like it's pretty great and like multicolored and multi-tiered and all that sort of stuff. But this linear thinking suggests that we think it's a progression, and to certain points, it is. I've been seeing a lot of 1, 2, 3s and 2, 3, 4s, and in the massive amounts of numbers that I receive every day. But that's helping me from a human level, because my humanness it still needs to function. And
Yeah.
it's not like we lock ourselves away. Well, there's a little period of that, a little self-imposed isolation, which is really important. And anyone telling you not to do that, the main aim is just trust your own guidance there. This is what we're coming down to. But the human part of it is like, okay, well, I can see it likes to see if it's advancing and growing. And it needs that little, because part of you needs that little, you're making progress, you
Sure.
know. But also to come back to what you were talking about in terms of like when we open up to this journey, there are so many more questions.
Mm.
And there really, really, there needs to be more questions than if you rock up and go, yeah, no, I'm on my soul's journey, calling, done, tick. Yeah, but you're still in a human body and you're still
Mm.
on Earth. So it's a high likelihood that there's more. You may not have reached your destination yet.
Yeah.
And so there's this whole journey with the soul of like, because it's a new way of being, a new way of existing. And
Mm.
if we were really good at it, if we were really, really good at it, need to go on this journey, we would already be living it.
Mm.
But the reality of the situation for a lot of us, me included, is making that transition from a purely human experience to more of a soul's experience, and then which is linking in the divine and saying, okay, I'm not really sure where I'm going, so I need to use other senses. I need to
Mm-hmm.
trust a different source. I've been listening to my ego for a long time, but I need to start listening to whoever it is that are your guides, or my clairvoyance, my clairsentience, opening up to psychic gifts. If we're talking about people stepping into the realm of, readers or using the powers around you to be. And so
Mm.
I like the progressive. Sometimes I personally need a bit of, I just want to see 1, 2, 3. I'm like, right, it's a steps. You're just stepping stage. But in terms of the destination, yeah, that's something that I feel like there's no destination. I feel like it's more of a, like, if I'm living it, being it, integrating my humanity with it. Yeah, not like abolishing, which was my biggest problem. If I can get more vulnerable, I mean, I just wanted to be out of being on planet Earth. For me, was just such a chore.
Sure.
I just, I was like, Heather, I want to be, I tried escaping into alcohol, drugs, esoteric spirituality, institutes spirituality, trying to find myself in friendships, trying to find myself in, you name it. I went through, rather than just sit and sort of go, And so what I'm learning to do now is and this is for me, it may resonate for some other people out there. It's not to get all like, go out and hug a tree, but it's
No.
more for me to be comfortable with being present without wanting to be distracted by something. Just being comfortable in your own skin and very accepting and very at
Mm.
peace, and not chasing sort of so much external things, but of course chasing them. But that's been the biggest thing. And also to manifest things for the world, like a business.
Mm.
Yes, and something in the world. And so that's always been something that I was kind of, I don't know if I want to do that. I'm
Mm,
spiritual. I can just fly off to another, planet or something. Spiritual bypassing at its best, but
sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's a valid point too, isn't it? It's like you don't get here just by purely curiosity and like, I wonder what would happen if I open the doors to my soul's calling. It's also like I'm tired of chasing. I'm tired of not feeling like I'm comfortable in my own body. You become very aware of your mechanisms and that you're always looking for something else and you're like, oh, it's in that, it's in the bottle. Oh no, it's not. It's in a person. No, it's not there either. And you just can't satisfy, you can't scratch that itch, right? Until you think there's got to be another way. And that leads you on this path. And it's funny because just that knowing that, I'm not sure where it comes from, but it's the knowing that this isn't it. This is not what fuels my soul. And the path that you're on, addressing your own needs and being of service, might not be it either, but at least you don't have to chase something or feel like you're in a coping mechanism all the time. You can be with yourself, with spirit all the time and do something that feels like you could wake up and prioritize that at any time. That's what we would call purpose. So cultivating more purposeful activities, cultivating more purposeful behaviors, so we can feel that sense of, I do want to get up today. I do want to be out in the world. I
so
do want to
important.
sit in front of people. And it is important because we know what the opposite feels like, and it's torture. It's not an easy state to be, I don't want to be here. But more and more people are finding themselves there because of the consciousness that's building. We're in an ego mentality. The mind is running the show, and we're not in that aligned state. And that's because the world has brought us to this point. And really, progression, as you were saying, which I find satisfying as well, knowing that we're moving forward, at least within ourselves, really urges us to find another way, because there is no amount of dopamine out there that will satisfy that urge. It's not sustainable and it's not possible. So finding something that works for us, and it sounds like something's working for you now for this chapter. It's not the be all and end all, because we want to be flexible as well with spirit, don't we? We say like, okay, I'm reading now, but in 5 or 10 years maybe I want to be off doing something else because that's the calling, and I love that, and it's
Exactly.
fine. Yeah, as
Exactly.
long as we're in touch with that. So would you say that you have a pretty good relationship with spirit now? You're in communication with your guides or whoever that is, and are you collaborating together?
Yeah. I have my own version of it. 100%, definitely.
Mm,
Um, in terms of just go, I will answer that question, but I just wanted to go back on that good point that you made, because it's important. What's happening for me now is this process of eliminating the things or minimizing the things that I would go to that had an effect on me that was all consuming or damaging.
sure.
And so there's this period, and it's starting to ease, right? So for me, I had to kind of put things in reverse and be like, okay, I'm going to be really bored for a while, because in my mind, it was kind of chasing something that
Yeah,
I knew from my spiritual practice that was never going to give me the happiness. I'd experienced it in so many different times in my life, um, like a candy bar in El Paso Correction Facility. I mean, what a great story that was. I won't go into it, but just this representation of happiness that it could not deliver. But I just wanted to make here is that when we go into that position of like, oh, I'm kind of taking things away and I'm not chasing the dopamine. I think it's an important part, or what I've learned is to replace the things that naturally would provide that, your serotonin and your dopamine. So for me, it was a friend of mine sent me a little thing, and it was like natural substitutes for dopamine, like go for a walk.
Mm.
I'm like, okay, all right, I've got a beautiful lake here. They've just put up lights around the lake. It's amazing. And I'm like, all right, I'll go for a walk, right?
Mm.
I'll make that a regular, you know, and then, or I'll go around and pat a dog, or, like for me, it's like just getting as natural and as kind of just not chasing it, but just feeling
Yeah.
the effects of that. And for me, it was very much, I was much of a procrastinator. So for me, that's why the warrior energy came in. It's just like, that's why I love listening to all those things that are like, Robbie, you wake up and you get that done, like, and I'm like, that voice inside your head, you're not enough. You're not doing enough. Listen to it. Like I listen to it.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, no, I'm just going to have a sleep. Take it easy on yourself. I found
Mm.
that if I take it easy on myself, that's not myself. That's taking it easy on my ego. And he's
Right.
actually saying something that is actually quite true. You
Mm.
haven't done it. You said you were going to do it and you didn't do it.
Interesting.
So that was sort of, yeah, to sort of briefly describe, because I've sat, Heather, in moments, many of them, and I said, there's nowhere to go. Like, there's nowhere to go.
Mm.
I have to sit in this, whatever it is. And that links into, hopefully tied it into my relationship with spirit. In those moments, spirit has always been there. Now, we know that spirit's all around us all the time. And my connection with them, especially the angelic realm, I
Mm-hmm.
almost have a peer-to-peer conversation with the angels, and I'd like, because I consider them my family. I
Mm.
was from, that's my nature. That's who I am. And so they're my family. So it's like talking to my family. And I would
Mm.
speak to them like I would speak to you. There's no high praise, it's respect, but it's not like that's reserved to more of a God. The angels we're working together, like, so not all the messages I receive from them are going to be like, sometimes they give you a bit of a smack in the mouth, and they're like, oh. Or other times when you need it, they're like, okay, it's, yeah. Or they pop up when you're like, oh, thanks, I really needed you, you know.
Mm.
But I was asking this question to myself last night, actually, about, because I'm stepping into with who was a client and who's more of a, wants to do some mentoring and some things. So I'm really interested in that. But there's this whole energy of, I hear a lot of people talk, oh, I talk to my guides and my guides will talk to your guides. I'm like, really? Like, there's some level of like, really? Are you talking to, are my guides talking to your guides? Or like, do my guys want to talk to your guides? Or like, I don't know if my guys want to talk to your guides. Like I'm a bit, uh, I like to keep it, because there's just so much pretension.
True.
And I think people say a lot, and they're like, oh, I'm so connected to my guides. And I'm just like, that's great. That's fantastic. That's amazing. But it's important to not let that be a comparison to your connection to your guides in whatever way you may have it. So,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
and that's the sort of main thing I'm trying to get to, is that we are all connected to the spiritual realm.
Totally.
How much, how they communicate. For some people, it might be numbers on a number plate. For others, it might be, you can hear messages, you can smell things, and it's so much. We're all kind of different. And for me, some people may need to meditate to connect, whereas I just simply well, I'm already connected, so I don't have to connect. It's just, let's talk,
Yeah.
because you're already here.
Yeah.
It's not like I have to go and find you in the
Mm.
ether. It's like you're already there,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but that depending on if my level of consciousness is there and all the sorts of stuff. But yeah, so I do feel like I speak to my guides, but I was asking, I speak to it in my own way that I can't really describe. Like yesterday, for example, like it was just beautiful. I feel that I'm receiving the messages from the angels that are saying you're heading in. Whenever I have a doubt or when I have something, they're like they will come at me with it. No, you keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, it may not appear in all areas of my life. It may not appear, but then if I keep trusting that message, new opportunities come and it just changes. Just they're asking me to keep my frequency with them
Mm.
more, more and more. Just,
Yeah.
because there is a part of us that does disconnect. So
Oh, yeah, totally. I guess the forces are against us there to some respects, but it's like any relationship. Once you build that relationship, there's more trust, there's more dependability, there's easier connection. It's the difference between meeting someone for the first time and awkwardly trying to say, hey, would you like to go out and have a coffee or something, rather than someone you've talked to day in, day out for years and years and years. You don't have to awkwardly say, like, would you like to come out for a coffee with me? It's almost the same.
that's kind
It's
of cute
that
though, as
it's kind of
well.
cute.
Just want to say it's kind of cute. I mean, if
Yeah.
you're like, hi, angels, uh,
I was just wondering.
I was just wondering if you'd like to have maybe go out. It's kind of cool. I think that's really sweet. Um,
Yeah, I
I,
do
I,
too.
I love it. A bit romantic with your
Yeah.
guy. Isn't it sexy? I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like what
Very
you were
beautiful.
saying. Like everybody has their own language. And I think it's a private experience if you talk to guides and you know who they are. And that's totally fine. I guess at Ankara we would ask, that's brilliant. What are you doing with it? How is it enriching your life? It's your private experience, how you talk to your guides and who they are and what they might provide for you. But what are we doing with that connection? How are we embracing it? How are we embodying it? What actions and choices and behaviors does it fuel? Because that's the important part, right? That's the part we're bringing into the world. We
Yeah.
can just meditate on a mountain for the next 20 years. That's great. And that's your choice. But saying outwardly and proving how big your connection to your guides are is fine. But I'd be more focused on how am I using that connection and what does that provide for me, and is that connection being seen in the world in a positive light? Like, am I using that connection for just my own self-satisfaction, or am I using it for service? And that's
Yeah. Well,
really
that's
the
a
only
big one.
thing that matters. Yeah, totally.
Um, and I mean, there's a big, obviously, having had an influx, an influence of Buddhism through my life, or at least through my foundational part of my spiritual life. It was the first particular path that I was called to go onto and went onto it,
Mm.
enlightenment or bust, when I remember having a chat with one of the monks. He's like, yeah, you're enlightenment or bust, Robbie. I go, yeah, you're dead right there. Um, and so there's this, and one story from that was, the person who went and meditated on love in a cave for like 12 years and then went back to the village and cracked the shits at someone. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? Moral of the story is that there were many messages in that story, but like this whole, we can't sort of just, and the point I'm trying to get to is it's still an individual thing. And if you want to do it for your own personal liberation, that's fine.
Right.
Not everyone's sitting here and coming back as a bodhisattva or whatever you want to call yourself. Um, and quite frankly, you know, yeah, it's great that these beings exist and all that sort of jazz. But to the level with which you want to sort of grow and advance in your spiritual life is very much up to you. And for a lot of us, it is just trying to get this human life kind of in some sort of not arrangement, because we know that you can't arrange your life in any sort of, it doesn't work. Oh my
Mm,
God, I've got the best relationship, got the best job. Oh my God. And then they all die and you get, or you get dumped or you get
mhm,
fired or you're
mhm,
like, oh no, this is not really working for me now. So there's this whole using your spiritual connection for your own, so that you are the best version of yourself. You know, business owner, or I've got to reach like 1,000 people. It's not, no, actually, it's just like the people who are in front of you,
mm.
right? And being of service to them, that would just start there
Yeah.
and be like, okay, well, and service is not doing everything for them or enabling bad behavior, or service is going, I am going to be the best version of myself so that when my time and your time intersect, you get my full everything.
Mm,
That's being of
love that.
service to someone.
Yeah.
And that, whatever that might be, it might be you get my full da 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 da. And then the rest of my time, 23 hours a day, it might be me working on me.
Sure.
But when I'm with you, I'm here. It's a mentality, it's a mind of service. It's not
Yeah.
the what it is you're doing. And so some people, it could be just giving them a cup of tea, or like, you see what
Mhm.
I'm saying? Like there's, but it is a that mind for most, you know, advancements in spirituality. But just quickly, just going back on that, it's not self to want to be, if you spend 22 hours in the mountain cave, and you need to spend 22 hours in the mountain, some of us do.
Sure.
Some of us need to spend a lot of time by ourselves to work through our stuff and be like, oh my God, and to connect to the divine. And like, we're spending all day doing that. So that when we actually go off and offer readings, or we offer ourselves to the people in our world, we offer all.
Mm,
We're there
mhm,
for you.
mhm.
Um, and I find that that's not a process that I'm at this stage ready to do. Like, oh, Jesus, I'm fully, I'm here for you the whole time, because it it won't work in this conventional world for me personally. So finding that balance between using spirituality and your connection to spirit for growth,
Mm,
personal growth, and that's whatever it means for you. Like, it's, if you need to go and do what you have to do, what you need to do,
that's right.
because the battle really on that side of it, and don't get it twisted, it is a battle.
Mm,
It is. And some of us really like that sort of warfare mentality, which I do.
mhm.
Um, someone said to me, so what happens after war? And I go, peace.
Yeah.
You got to have that little battle first. So yeah, I think what I'm alluding to is that whole energy of like, service is not something that you're just like, I'm doing it. Some people can do it 24/7, and when I was at the Buddhist center, it was like, it was very much promoted, you know,
Mm,
it was like all the time service.
mm.
And that's great, but wasn't my type of service.
Yeah, I guess we have to honor ourselves as the individual and the world that we're in and where we're trying to get to within ourselves, right? But I think for most of us, it's a dip your toe in and then integrate, and dip your toe in and integrate, because full-time service, there feels like there's a lot of sacrifice involved. And I'm not sure if we're ready. I don't know if, particularly in our culture, we've had the predetermined programming, whereas maybe a Buddhist culture with generation after generation of that being an option, they might have a predisposition for it. It might be a more natural fit. I think we all have to honor where we've come from, where we're going, and how much service feels good for us. Because if we do it in vain for the sake of being acknowledged and validated, then we're still going into the trap, aren't we? We're still saying, please see me in all of my service.
They're
Service
wonderfully
is,
servicing.
yeah,
It's
service
the thing.
is, yeah, like this is what I want to see more of in the world. This is what I am engaged in. And I would love to be of service to that. And a lot of that is, as you said, being just loving awareness for people working through their stuff. And hopefully we come with as much love in our hearts as possible. But geez, that's hard. You know, like relationships are difficult. They're involved in a lot of work, a lot of communication, a lot of boundaries, all of that. And the forces are against us sometimes, aren't they? For me to be in loving awareness for you, I have to really honor where I'm at and communicate that. And sometimes I won't be able to be of service to you because I'm stuck in my own bullshit, right? And I have to honor that because otherwise we go into those old paradigms. So I feel it's very much 1 foot forward, integrate, 1 foot forward, integrate. Is service really what it's cracked up to be? And is it working for me right now? You can go into the cave, you can tap out completely, you can rest. It's not the be all and end all. It's like an experiment to see whether being of service to other people, to a better world, to a higher state of consciousness feels and honors who we are as an individual, rather being trapped in a system that has us just chasing constantly for dopamine fueled sense of achievement, which we're probably
Oh,
all gone after, and it's
oh yeah,
empty. In my experience, it's totally empty.
empty. It's
Just
all empty, apparently. Yeah, so just
yes,
ask the Buddhists, they'll tell you. Oh,
yeah,
there is a chair there, man. There's no satisfier. There's nothing. It's all empty of inherent existence. And they're right. They're
mm,
bang on target. I
mm,
think it's so important because, like, when we go to integrating, I like the 2 steps forward, 1 step back, analogy, or 3 steps forward. As long as it's not 5 steps back for me, like I'm kind of like, oh, I'll take a step back for a bit. Um,
yeah,
but I think in terms of, we live in a world that is very outer expressed, right? But we live in a world that is pure consciousness, but we don't realize that. And so filled into our minds is a belief that there's a real inherent existing world that's happening out there, and it's
mm,
full of objects and it's full of people, and those people are separate to me, and I'm in competition with them, or I might join a spiritual organization, but it's filled with humans that
yeah,
have egos, that have, it's all created.
mm,
Nothing, like I said, this is not a blank canvas statement that everything's crap. It's basically saying it's not living up, it's all empty of what
mm,
it is that you think it's going to give you. That
mm,
means all relationships, all of them.
mm-hmm,
No, Robbie, but this one's the one. No, that one as well. Empty, right?
mm,
Of what your little mind's trying to thinking it is. It can't give you that.
yeah,
And once the pressure's off that, and this is why a lot of the lectures I give is around, I'm just really sort of teaching people the basics. How's your life going
mm,
so far? How
mm-hmm,
have you gone? How are we doing? How are we doing? Some people are, well, have you found that person yet? Or have you haven't lost anyone yet? Or you depressed? Yeah, fantastic. Great, good, fantastic. This is great news. This
mm,
is great news,
mm-hmm,
guys, because we're not trying to fix and change any of that. That is going to be, if we lived in this reality for the continuous of this time, that will remain to be the same,
mm,
because that's how this world is built. It cannot give you what you're looking for.
mm,
And so there's this going back onto the extreme. It's trying to take them to a position of, it's okay. Things are going to screw up.
yeah,
Like you're going to get, your heart's going to get broken. you, if you've got kids that die,
yeah,
they might die
there will
before
be
you.
loss. Mm-hmm,
It's all an impermanent thing.
sure,
And I'm not saying don't feel sad and express emotions. I'm saying go through that process. But somewhere in your consciousness is a voice saying, you're also not going to be around, and that none of this is really, if I can just minimize my attachment to it a little bit,
Sure.
I can actually enjoy it better.
Yeah.
I can enjoy the relationship. I can enjoy
Yeah.
my kids. I can
Mm.
enjoy the holiday. If it's not
Mm-hmm.
loaded with so much expectation and I'm attached to it being a certain way, you start to relax.
Mm.
And that's what is so important for a lot of us. And it's a very, very old principle, but it's one that I find that we need to sort of keep reminding ourselves of because we get so tricked into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And anyone that you talk to that's had a profound experience, a near death experience, a psychedelic experience would say how that huge upgrade in your consciousness does make you realize that that small stuff is exactly that. It's small. It's not that important. We're putting a lot of weight on small things, but that soul's calling or being in touch with spirit pulls us out of that mentality so that we can see something much bigger. And I think that is somewhat good for us to know that we don't know anything. We're really just having an experience. We're very limited in our capacity to feel and to know and to understand. And there might be a higher power that knows a million times more than us that is directing us with love. Hopefully, that would be um, an ideal version of this so that we can surrender into it a little bit. Like there is divine timing, there's things we need to go through that are bigger than our comfort. So deep loss teaches us who we are and what we loved. And huge mistakes and failures shows us that it's not about winning. And all of these things are our most human points and they're really important. That's why dark night of the soul is real for most of us, and those natural cycles. We're not meant to just be in a linear progression all the time. We're meant to have pitfalls, and it sort of just feels like a mess half the time. But I find it quite comforting that my guides or source are watching in love and saying, you signed a contract. Your contract was to learn. In order for you to learn, we have to coordinate some things that you're not going to like. And it's important that you don't like them because that's as important as feeling ecstatic divine bliss as well. But we'll hand you all of the experiences that you signed up for, but you must trust and surrender, right? And that's an important part of the deal. Because if we sign a deal with ourselves just to manifest the things that make us feel good so that our ego can tick it off the list, that's fine. But I think I would personally get bored there, knowing that
Yeah. And it
I got
never
it. I
teaches
got
us.
it.
Yeah. And it never teaches us because the things that we believe at a deep level that make us feel good make us feel like shit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, without putting it bluntly. All the
Mm.
things in your mind that you thought of today that I just wouldn't mind a cup of tea, or maybe I'm hungry, eat lunch. We think all those things, we have so, and it's just simple as food and pretty basic sort of stuff. But it's such a thing. It's a hard thing to sort of, when we get challenged, our mindset when we are in the challenge needs to change.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's the biggest thing and the biggest help. You got to start seeing the things that are happening. And I've had people say, "Oh, no more tests for me." I go,
Yeah, I hear
"Oh,
that a lot.
mate, oh dear, oh, buddy, oh, okay, all right, I'll talk to me in a while. I just don't actually, maybe don't talk to me. But no, I'm here if you need. Anyway, and because they've like buddy and anyway, whatever, rubbish. Um, Another form of spiritual, just they don't get it either,
Mm.
and it's no one specific. It's just a sort of a general take on that mind, because we all have it. We're all like, no, no, mate, if I was in pure bliss all the time, like my life would be so much better. I was like, no, 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 not really, because the challenge really does help. Like the old adage, if you don't have any suffering, suffering is the greatest teacher we have, you know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in terms of eradicating our attachment to certain things, understanding who we are at a deeper level.
Mm-hmm.
Learn because that deep sadness reveals this beautiful love. It's just like, oh my God, you know, like deep grief is also this leading you. And love's not hasn't abandoned anyone. We can view God and the relationship with that all we want, but like love's not going, oh, I'm just going to take this rotation off, like no love in the world.
You're
You know,
done.
yeah, love's having a little vacation in Bliss Town, like love doesn't take a day off,
True.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So what is it that's stopping us from experiencing this ever-present eternal energy? Well, we have to come down to the conclusion that it might be something in us.
Yeah.
And then we go, once we get that, we're like, well, if that's the case, I got some work to do, right? And
Yeah.
then
I hear what
how
you're
much of
saying.
that work you want to do is totally up to you. But going back on the dark night of the soul, I mean, it's important that we're talking about it because I find it such an important, it's been one hell of a journey so far for me.
Mm,
And I'm reminded by my angelic realm that I'm still on it.
still in it.
I'm still in it, you
Mm,
know? And it's reminding me constantly to say, because, things are going well in work, in business. And I'm like, oh my God, oh, now I'm a psychic reader. And I have to say this to the people who, don't get caught up in it.
mm,
Don't get caught up in this. Enjoy the little victories, or you've developed some stability for yourself, Robbie.
mm.
And for all those people who probably don't know, like it was my 5-month sobriety anniversary from,
Well done.
so I want to, still haven't got my coin yet. I want my coin, man. um, but without going into all that, there's this sense of everything is linking you, everything is taking you. And there are certain points where you need to find that stability so that you can enjoy things that really do make you happy or provide you with a sense of happiness, which is being at peace. That's
Mm,
the only really thing that's going to really, really do it for you on
yeah.
all levels. And the only reason we're not at peace is because we've just got all this stuff that's coming in, trying to just steal it. And for a
Sure.
time, that's some people as well, Heather. And I think what the Dark Night of the Soul has taught me is, and teaching me is, A, not to get attached to anything.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, in this life, so just keep reminding yourself, Robert, this is all going. It's just
Yeah.
temporary. If you might you meet someone and like, oh my God, oh, wow, this is a really great connection. Yeah, don't obviously just but like, yeah, no, I get it. But I'm not going to play that unless I'm not going down that road, again.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, good, I got it. What's more important than that for me is that I'm on my path, I'm on my purpose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it teaches you a lot of things in how to sort of get onto purpose, find your calling, and not continue to keep yourself in check and not get so attached, which is
Yeah.
so challenging. I find that so challenging.
Yeah, absolutely. But you end up with a sense of, well, if I don't find at least a healthy sense of detachment to all things, spirit will keep on taking from me what I'm attached to.
100%.
Like if, and
It's cheeky, that.
it's not that it's good, bad, or indifferent, no judgment, but if we can't savor the one drink and we keep on chasing, then spirit will take it because we'll go into an unhealthy paradigm of attachment. And I've been there too. It's if you believe that you need it, then spirit will take it. If you start to cling with attachment to something, spirit will probably take it. We end up with this humility around it is all temporary. And the only things that will fuel my soul for the long haul are the purposeful things, are the gratitude, are the being in the moment and saying, right now, I'm so blissfully happy that I get to be connected to this person.
Mm.
But also, contracts are temporary, especially in physical form. So we have to have that sense of, and it does keep you in the moment. But as you said, it's got to be peace with the self, and peace is expensive. Peace will take people out of your life. Peace will take away your favorite things. But peace with yourself is undeniably nourishing. But it just means, well, I can't take that risk and I won't have that. And that's too much and that's too little. Anyway, my peace is mine and I don't have to explain it to anyone. But it costs a lot. It
It
costs a
costs a
lot.
lot, but it's probably what I'm coming to understand is the most valuablest thing I can have.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
when we start to, well put, because when we start going down what we value, when everything's taken away and you're left with you, you're like, oh,
Again, great.
great, fantastic. Two things coming out of that. One, self-respect,
Mm-hmm.
which from a personal level, and I think from a lot of other people's, has been a big lesson.
Mm.
Treating oneself with respect. And that has nothing to do with how others are treating you for the moment,
Sure.
because how others are treating you is a direct correlation of how you how you've been treating yourself.
Mm-hmm.
A direct
Mm-hmm.
correlation. So if you're getting like totally whatever, it's because you've been doing that to yourself
Yeah.
until you wake up. And the biggest thing about stopping drinking was that it was to redeveloping a sense of self-respect. So I'm not going to do that to myself.
Yeah.
You know, I'm an
Yeah.
alcoholic. So, I it just, and it's funny now, like people walking, oh, you want to drink, Robbie? Go, there's not enough alcohol in this bar. It would satiate. I said, I don't have one, mate. I'm an alcoholic. I say it proudly. Like say it proudly now more than
Yeah.
before when I was a bit of denial about it.
Yeah.
But that self-respect and what it is that I value, and I value starting to value your time, which leads into what it is that you're doing. Are you married to your soul's purpose? Because that's your real soulmate.
Mm-hmm.
That's your beloved.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're married to that, you're dedicated to that, you're committed to that, you're respecting this vessel that's riding this human life out. Yeah, there's big changes in friendships, big changes in whatever. And if people can't understand what it is that you're doing, then that's okay. Doesn't matter,
It's fine.
because you end up with self-respect, and then you redirect and you're like, okay, well, now that I'm treating myself with respect, I can see I have little time for people communicating with lack of respect, and you can
Mm.
safely call them out on it. Be like,
Mm-hmm.
that's disrespectful. I don't really want to be involved in that. Thanks. And it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be mean. It's just like, because I don't have time for it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and these are some of the lessons that I think I'm bringing them up so that, because they will come up in terms of during this period. And for some
Mm.
people, they've mastered this particular thing that we're talking about. Like there are some people out there that I'm wary when they tell me that they've mastered it, like
Mm. Mm.
out of being, like the devil's advocate and just disagreeing with them, because
Mm.
I mean, there's still lots of work to be done in changing attitudes, but like there are some people out there that have mastered self-respect and mastered the things that I'm communicating about. So,
Mm.
but I felt for me, Heather, that it's just been a comeback, and it's all to do with, because a lot of the opportunities coming through now in reading and lecturing and podcasting with yourself and other things that we're called and passionate to do, these opportunities come because you've got a lot of time to sort of like, all right, I'm spending most of my time by myself and I'm learning to like again being
Mm-hmm.
by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just nothing freer for that for me. I just feel like, oh, I'm actually feeling really good about myself and I'm actually
Mm.
enjoying, and my life's kind of going it's going in the right trajectory. And I'm like really proud of it. You know, like you start to develop a sense of self-confidence and like I can do that.
Mm.
And then on the spiritual side of things, that helps your spiritual life too. You like your connection with your angels, you get more confident. You're just like, of course I'm there. Okay. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, that's kind of everything kind of intertwines
Yeah.
um, when you start to, what does your soul want to do?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some really beautiful points in there. I love that. One last question before we go.
Oh, I better take a drink of my lemon lime bitters.
Are you ready for my question?
I'm ready.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
All right. My last question to you, Robbie, is do the angels have a sense of humor?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Fucking oath they do. Um,
I
yeah,
find
they
that
do.
too. They
Yeah, they
do.
do. Because what we have to understand about the angelic realm is, um, yeah, now they're communicating with what I can actually divulge. But it's not like they're just like you and me, but on a different energetic frequency, on a
Sure.
different thing. So, you know, they're just more pure light, but they carry all the energy that comes from energies of joy. So when we have joy and humor and, you know, these are higher levels of, at least from a human level, it's not human. I'm not humanizing angels by saying that they have a sense of humor because their humor is like total batshit different than it's not, it's not, it's not human humor.
Sure.
It's a totally different humor. Yeah. Which you kind of, it's hard to understand sometimes, but yeah, yeah, they just get up to some weird shit.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah, they're, yeah, hilarious. But it's not like cracking jokes, you know, like it's,
No, I find it's more like, I sit down and I ask for what I want. I speak out my intentions and I say, well, I would love it if this would happen. And they say, okay. And then I get there and I'm like, wait, what is all of this? They said, you wanted this, remember?
yeah,
And I'm standing there and I'm not feeling good about myself or like, but it is what I asked for. And I just look like a complete idiot, like, oh,
yeah.
I thought I was going to have all of these things and people were going to sing my praise. They're like, oh, no,
Oh,
but
mate,
you
no,
got
no.
what you asked
Yeah,
for.
yeah.
We facilitated that for you. And I was like, damn it, that's hilarious.
Yeah, we've already validated you. Yeah. I know you're trying to validate yourself from everyone else. Um, and oh my God, we're just wow, we could go on forever about the debauchery. Obviously, we can't, but there's so much to discuss in terms of
Mm,
the pitfalls that
mm.
come about from our own sort of confusion and our own minds. It's a never ending discussion, one that I'm willing to have for the remainder of my life. By my journey.
Yes. Yeah. I believe they laugh at our humanness all the time. And I love that. Yeah. We can't take
Yeah,
it
they
too
say things like,
seriously.
God, Robbie, God, you're not even a human, Robbie. What are you doing? Who's Robbie? Who's Robbie? We don't know. And then the part of me that's connected to them, because this is where it gets weird. The part of me I'm already connected there. So when we say I'm connected with my angel, I'm connecting to me. That's angelic, you
Sure.
know. And so that's why, you know, you can connect to the fairy realm, or you connect to the whatever realm you choose to.
Yep.
Because of remembrance of soul. There's a, you know, that you just remember, right?
Mm,
But it's like, that's why someone asked me today, it was a tarot reader actually. And I was like, oh, who do you call in? angelic wise? And I go, all of them. Like it, because do you specifically? I go, no,
All of
no,
it.
all, because, and I'll leave on this, finish on this, and it might help someone out there. I feel like someone's questioning their connection. So they might hear this and be like, learning to trust where it's coming from and what it is a whole nother podcast. But the which we're all learning to do. But they said to me, they goes, we're not one singular thing, and we're all one.
Mm.
So it's like, instead of just calling one of us, call all of us. So
The whole
get out of the
package.
whole, there's this one and then there's that one and that one does this. It's like, no, all of us.
Mm.
And then and what you receive is all of it.
Mm.
So when I ask for help, it's like, oh, can I just have a little bit of help here, guys? Just all of it. Thanks, everyone, in every aspect of every ether. I need all the assistance I can, because I can't do it alone.
Yeah, and that's okay. It's beautiful. It's such a beautiful lesson, right? And we can do that um, in human form, asking for help, being vulnerable, no judgment on when we need it. But that SOS call goes out. And I've always found that the whole universe is ready to respond.
In a big
And it's
way.
just, yeah, and just understanding that we have that access all the time. It's just that we block it all the time, thinking that it's just about us. But, everything's there for us. Just unity consciousness, unconditional love, source, all the angels, whatever you want to call it.
Hmm.
It's available to us, but most of the time we're like, no, 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 I can do it all on my own, or no, no, no,
Yeah,
I
well,
don't need anyone or anything.
it's hard to gate crash the pity party sometimes, isn't it? And it's not a party. Your party, you think you want to, oh, I'm really missing out on a party. Nah, it's a pity party. Don't gate crash the pity party. You
So,
rock up and like, oh, can we come into the pity party? It's like, no, I don't want to go.
nah, pretty sure I want to be here on my own.
Yeah, this really cool Grease Lightning crew of angelics come in and go, okay, we're gate crashing the pity party to change this up, and you're like, no, you're not let in.
I
You
don't
didn't bring
believe in
any
you guys today.
booze.
Totally.
Yeah,
Oh, my friend, thank you so much. That was a beautiful conversation. Um, so happy to speak with you. Congratulations on 5 months sober. I'm so proud of you. And I'll put all
thanks.
your details below about how you are available to serve people, one-on-one readings, sounds like mentoring, lectures as well.
Yeah,
But thank you for the conversation. Thank you for showing up for me. And I love you so much. Let's do it again.
I love you too, and we will do it again.
Excellent. All right,
Yeah.
buddy. Thank you.
Oh, much love.
Bye.
Bye.